If you want to have a different life, you also need to learn to read different books. So in this channel, which is why I take great pains to identify books that are different and go out of the way to pull up books that challenge our notions. So with that, let me talk about and introduce you to today's book that I'm reviewing. The book that I'm reviewing is The Billionaire Who Wasn't, and the author of this book is a gentleman called Conor O'Clery. It's an outstanding book. Let me just open up this book and show you this. You may not be able to see the receipt. I purchased this book 14 years ago when it came out. This is a receipt from a store called Borders in the US, a bookstore in the US, which no longer exists. And this book has stuck in my mind ever since then. So the title of today's book, again, is The Billionaire Who Wasn't. And literally, like the title suggests, it is a story of a gentleman called Chuck Feeney or Charles Feeney, who founded the duty-free empire. Before I tell you about Charles Feeney, let me tell you a little bit about the title. Why is the title worded that way? The world is fascinated with billionaires. When we think of billionaires, we think of their private jets, their flashy life, their mansions, their cars, their toys, their trophy wives, their ability to stay in the limelight, make power moves, rubbing shoulders with the high and mighty. This is the usual image of a billionaire. And when you think of people like Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, the images that you can conjure up are about them meeting politicians, making some big moves. They're practically in the limelight all the time. This doesn't change from country to country, it remains the same. This billionaire is different. He's everything opposite to what we have come to expect from a billionaire. In this book, which is The Billionaire Who Wasn't, we learn how Chuck Feeney or Charles Feeney and his partners built the duty-free shopping network. If you don't know what the duty-free shopping network is, it is those chain of stores around airports where you get these fancy watches, luxury perfumes, luxury alcohol, That's the duty-free network for you. We also learn how Chuck Feeney and his partners sold the duty-free shopping network eventually to LVMH, and its expansion is Louis Vuitton Moët Hennessy, the company behind one of the most well-known luxury brands such as Louis Vuitton, Hermes, Moët Hennessy, Christian Dior, Bulgari, etc. We also learn how he influenced the Irish peace process. A lot of you may not know that there was a war between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland until the 90s, and I think until the 2000s as well. So Southern Ireland and Northern Ireland were fighting. There was an entity called the Irish Republican Army. And today, Ireland is a peaceful region, and Chuck Feeney has played a major role in it. He gave millions of dollars in donations to the peace process, but he never actually was in the limelight. He never came in front of the press. He worked closely behind the curtains with Bill Clinton, who was the then President of the United States. And he also gave hundreds of millions of dollars in donation to his alma mater, Cornell University. And he had a condition attached with it. While most billionaires wanted those blocks or those departments or those chairs named after them, his condition was that donation was to remain anonymous. He also co-founded the well-known investment firm General Atlantic Partners, and their initial investments, they used to insist that the partners behind the firm remain anonymous. If I'm not mistaken, they also insisted that the firm name itself remain anonymous. Today, Feeney does not own a car or a house. Compared to other billionaires who talk big about giving away their wealth, but don't really do in actuality, Feeney actually is virtually broke, and he plans to die broke. How did Chuck Feeney build a duty-free empire from a small store in Hawaii? Chuck Feeney was with the US Air Force, and he used to operate the telegraph, and those times he was supposed to keep all of the information that he was conveying secret. Perhaps he got his secretive trait from what he did for the US Air Force. But how did he eventually parlay an education from an Ivy League school? How did he go to Cornell? How did he meet his partners, the four other gentlemen, 3 or 4 other gentlemen that he built this entire duty-free empire? And when they sold the duty-free empire, the company was not doing that great. The high tide of duty-free shopping, which was fueled by Japanese travelers. Today, Japanese travelers have been replaced by Chinese travelers. You'll see Chinese travelers across the world. Japanese travelers who were discovering the world at that point in time fueled a lot of the purchasing. They actually were the segment or the target segment that fueled the billions of dollars of duty-free purchases across the world. But that tide had already ebbed and flowed, and it had reached a certain degree of stagnation. But still, they managed to sell that company to Bernie Arnaudt, who heads Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, and he's a skillful negotiator and a shrewd businessman. And at one point in time, Chuck Feeney is actually afraid that the sale might actually not go through. How did they still manage to sell it? How did he manage to bring peace to Ireland? Today, Ireland is a peaceful nation, and if it is peaceful today, much of it is because of Chuck Feeney or Charles Feeney's involvement. How did he manage to do that, and how did he manage to remain secretive? And why does he remain secretive? Is it real or is it a ploy? So go behind this fascinating personality. I'm a big fan of biographies. Unlike most of the books that have been written by people that are regurgitating old ideas that they have not implemented, that they have not seen the light of, this biographies teach us takeaways and lessons, because the person about whom the biography is, or if it is an autobiography where they are writing about themselves, they have actually put that into practice. This is an outstanding book that goes into a lot of amazing lessons about business, about how they took advantage of trends, and how luck also played a factor in many of those things, and why he chooses to be secretive. This is an outstanding book. Again, the book is The Billionaire Who Wasn't. Go read it, get enriched, and until next time, I'll come back soon with another book recommendation. Until next time, happy reading.